So, okay. You want to get to sports conspiracy theories?
Sure.
Okay. So last week, during one of the playoff games, they do in the second round every year, they do the NBA draft lottery. So the NBA draft lottery, it's not like the NFL where it's worst record gets the number one pick, then so on, down to 32. NBA does it if you don't make the playoffs, you are entered in the draft lottery. So 14 chances, 14 teams, but they they do it based on a percentage. So the 3 worst teams all have like a 14% chance to win the draft lottery. And then, it goes down and down and down by then. So the Dallas Mavericks actually won the NBA draft lottery this season with let's see, what was their percentage? They had a 1.8% chance to win the lottery. So there is a conspiracy going around because the Mavericks, who were in the NBA Finals last year, by the way, traded away their best player to the NBA's biggest market in Los Angeles to their premier franchise, the Lakers. And so now Luka Doncic and LeBron James are kind of paired up, even though they're eliminated from the playoffs. That's a big draw for the NBA. But here's the conspiracy. They're like, hey, why don't you send out Luka to LA and we'll make sure the lottery goes in your favor and you get the number one pick. Do you think there's any validation to that, or is that just a bunch of BS?
BS.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Joe, you're not putting the stamp on this conspiracy theory.
No.
Okay.
Not with the Mavericks.
Okay.
No.
This has happened before. Yeah. Dallas is a pretty big city, a very big market. This has happened several times before. People said back in 2011, the Cavs had a 2.8% chance. They said, you know what? Since LeBron left, he left in 2010. Cavs had a really bad year. Let's just let the Cavs have the number one pick. They won the lottery that year. Had a 2.8% chance. That turned into Kyrie Irving. But it has happened before where teams had a very small chance but did get the number one pick. So
here's my suggestion. Like, I do RNG stuff. So these statistics, it goes right along. Like, everybody feels like this statistically improbable thing that happens. It's got to be a conspiracy theory. Why don't they just do it like the NFL does, where weight it so that depending on what you did last year, that's where you enter in the draft and you avoid that.
They're trying to, because the NBA is a much longer season in terms of many games, 82 games versus 17. So they're trying to avoid tanking. Whereas it's a lot easier to tank in the NBA because you can sit and rest guys. There's only 5 guys on the court at once. So I do understand the anti-tanking mentality from that perspective. So I do understand that, but we'll see. So I don't know. That's just a thought in my mind. But I think the conspiracy theory of this one is debunked.
Debunked.
Yeah,
for sure.
Debunked.
Absolutely.
Okay. But Cooper Flagg will be the consensus number one pick in this draft. And he will be the first white American basketball player drafted number one since 1977, which is pretty big deal. So good for him. Good for the Mavericks. Here's where the next NBA conspiracy theory comes into play. This goes all the way back 40 years ago to the frozen envelope. So David Stern was the commissioner then. Patrick Ewing was this big time center coming out of Georgetown, and they wanted the New York Knicks, the big market franchise, to get the services of this, the center coming out of Georgetown. So there has been many theories that one of the envelopes had a bent corner. One of the envelopes was actually frozen, so you could feel it by touch. To me, I feel like that's a little bit more legitimate, and I kind of believe this one to be true. What do you think about that one?
Pre-internet, you could pull some shady stuff off, and without ever being found out. So I'll give it a high percent.
Give me out of 10, scale of 1 to 10. I'm gonna say it's an 8 out of 10. I think
I'm going 7. Yeah,
okay.
Totally 7.
So most likely, we think it could have happened.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of shady stuff in that era. For sure.
Okay. Let's stick with basketball. Here's a conspiracy theory. Michael Jordan's retirement from the NBA, and he had a cup of coffee in baseball, was actually a secret suspension for gambling.
Ooh.
A lot of people believe this to be true. I'm going to go right in the middle. I think it's a 5. I think this happened soon after Michael Jordan's dad was murdered. So I think he needed some time away to reflect, and he probably didn't know what to do with himself. I'm a good athlete. I'm going to go try baseball, and then I'm going to come back and, come back and be the best basketball player again. Just my opinion, but what say you? He is a big time. He is known for his gambling.
It was a big oddity for him to step away at the top of his freaking game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it around 6. I'll go 6.
Okay. And I mean, they had just won 3 championships in a row. So came back and then lost in he came back late in one of the seasons, lost, and then they did another 3-peat. So okay, so Joe's given that more. He's more on board than that with me. I'm kind of right in the middle. Next one. Here's the next one. 2002 Western Conference Finals. The Sacramento Kings had a 3-2 lead on the Los Angeles Lakers. The NBA helps the Lakers beat the Kings in the 0-2 Conference Finals. In Game 6, LA takes 27 foul shots in the fourth quarter. The Kings only take 25 in the game. And there were some other suspicious calls in that. What say you? Did the NBA and kind of help the Lakers beat the Kings, who are really good, to get to the NBA Finals that year?
I'm giving that a 20.
20? Yeah,
20,
yeah.
For sure.
I think I loved watching that Kings team. I thought it was very validated, this conspiracy theory. If I was a Sacramento fan, I'd be 10. But since I just enjoyed watching them, I'm gonna say a 6 on this one. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm gonna just split the middle. I'm gonna go weak. I'm gonna go 5. I think it's 5 because
I averaged you up. We got a 10 out of 10.
The Lakers still had to make the shots and do some stuff too, so I'll give them that. All right, here's a recent one. We're gonna switch to football. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce's relationship is fake, and it's to cross promote the NFL and her brand.
20 again.
20 again.
100%.
I think he legitimately loves her. I think she probably tolerates and likes him. They're 2 American icons, I guess you could say. But I'm gonna say this is a 6 out of 10. I'm gonna say this was a match made, and they're the ones that have to keep it up. So you're on board. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
All right. Let's see the next one. All right, this is one I had no idea until I started doing some research. This is amazing. So, of your Yellowstone fame, and Kevin Costner's done so many great baseball movies, had so many great movies, but here is a great one involving him and Cal Ripken Jr. The Baltimore Orioles intentionally caused a blackout at their game so that Cal Ripken Jr. would not miss a game during his Ironman streak. He famously beat Lou Gehrig's 2,130 consecutive games played because he was busy beating the shit out of Kevin Costner for sleeping with his wife.
Oh,
so apparently Kevin Costner sleeping with Cal Ripken Jr.'s wife. Cal Ripken found out, beat his ass, got hurt or something, and needed a day off. So Baltimore Orioles in turn cut the power, do whatever, so he can, so that game can get canceled and he can play the next day.
What year was this? Do you know?
I do not know. It's
80s.
Sometime. No, I think sometime in the 90s. So sometime in the mid to late 90s. I'm gonna guess.
I'm gonna go with high probability. I'm going with a 7.
I think this is true. I'm not gonna go 100%. I think this is an 8 out of 10 for me that this actually happened. So that's a wild one. And
those streaks especially were a big deal in that era.
Oh yeah.
So to do something to cause calamity for that, absolutely.
Hell yes. All right. This one, I'm a 10 out of 10 on this one. But after the 1994 strike, MLB owners, players, and league executives conspired to ignore the growth of steroids in an effort to save the game through the tiresome barrage of home runs. So, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire was a huge thing, Barry Bonds, but there was the big home run chase throughout the 1995, 1996, 1997 seasons, where it was just bombs away for all these guys, and the roid rage and whatever. And it eventually came back to cost some people maybe chances at the Hall of Fame and stuff. But what say you on this?
Total conspiracy.
Yeah.
yeah, they took a blind eye to it. It was great for baseball. Fans loved it. So yeah, it was non-issue.
Okay. All right. Here's one I did not know about, and I found out yesterday. I looked into this. Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston. So, Muhammad Ali's float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Float like a butterfly, dive like Liston. In his 1965 bout with Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, who did, after all, learn to box in prison, bets against himself. So he took a dive to pay off a mob debt and is KO'd by a phantom punch by Muhammad Ali. What say you on
I would
this
like to watch the video for that, but I would say that is completely possible.
I would be interested in some of our boxing experts around, hearing what they would think about that. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10 because I think boxers have so much pride on the line. And I mean, they're literally putting their life out there. But if he knew he was throwing the fight, I mean, how
many rounds did it go? Do you know?
I do not know, but he was knocked out. So,
but if somebody pitched it to you, you're in deep with the mob. You got a couple of $1 million score to settle.
Yep.
All you got to do is get in the ring with an equally sized person and take a dive at a reasonable amount.
Yep.
You can go 1 round and spar along. If he's a big dude, he could probably hang.
Yep.
And all you got to do is fall, right? Make it look believable, and all your problems go away.
And that picture is iconic of Muhammad Ali standing over top of him. But I don't know. And believe me, gambling and the mob ties and stuff were big back then. Speaking of mob ties, there's a conspiracy theory that Jimmy Hoffa is buried under the old Giants Stadium. The what was he? Teamster, but in the mob, stuff like that. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10 because I really don't know much about this story. This was one I read on a separate article. What say you on this?
So I watched a Jim Carrey movie, and they discovered Jimmy Hoffa, and it wasn't a Giant Stadium. So I am convinced. Zero.
Okay.
Yes, it's not a conspiracy.
Right. And that's a lot of digging to find him under there. So that's a lot of concrete boots on in New Jersey there. All right, another football one we'll close out on here in a minute. But in 2007, the NFL commissioner Roger Goodell destroys the Patriots Spygate tapes because they reveal even more damning form of cheating. I believe that 110%. I'm giving that a 10 out of 10.
I'm with you, 20 out of 10.
All right. And I believe that year they were playing, I can't remember if they were playing the Rams. I think they were playing the St. Louis Rams. It was still when they were in St. Louis, to win their first title. And I think from there on, that started the legacy. But I think, much like Michigan football, Tom Brady is a Michigan man, that there was some cheating to acquire a championship.
Yeah, so. and I hate to even call it cheating because every sport that I've been around, all of the teams that dominate, there's a reason, and nobody can ever quite figure it out, but they know something dirty is going on.
Yep.
And they do it so brilliantly that they're able to pull it off for decades. Yep. And it only is the Patriots. I mean, obviously, they had a run with Tom Brady for what? 15 years?
At least 15 years.
15 years?
Yeah, close to 20 probably.
And so at the end of that era, you take away the cheating, and then they just normalize like any other team. So you know that anybody who puts that much runs in, I don't care if it's NASCAR racing or
the Houston Astros,
baseball,
Michigan,
anything. Somebody finds a gray area advantage and they exploit it as long as they possibly can.
Okay. All right. Very interesting.